I think I discussed this further up, and it's network scale helps us to absorb large attacks. I think now I know I should know my facts, so please apologize me, but I think we thwarted the largest scale DDoS attack back at the back end of last year. And there's an interesting thing about that attack was it wasn't a sustained attack. So most attacks are normally sustained, go in there, knock your website out, and if you don't pay by, I don't know, X clock in Bitcoin, then we're going to continue. This is a new type of attack that we're starting to see, where it's almost like micro attacks. So they throw like a huge attack at a company to knock it out and then stop. And they randomize the time when they're hitting that that attack. So it's not long enough to allow companies to go and find a DDoS provider, and it's short enough to really affect the business at that critical time as well. So and we found a way of mitigating that, and a lot of that was Magic Transit always on. So when you're using Magic Transit, which are layer 3 DDoS attack, a DDoS service, it's always on, and it takes about 3 seconds to detect and implement. So as the attack comes in, it sees it, 3 seconds, oh, this is definitely an attack, starts mitigation. So it really reduces the impact on a business. And as you know, if attackers start hitting a business and they know they've got effective DDoS solutions, they're unlikely to hit that again. And you've got a lot of people now, and ransomware. We're seeing now that the continent is moving towards the cloud. We're certainly seeing a lot more of this type of thing going on within the continent, because previously when it was private networks is obviously quite difficult to attack, but as everything has progressed, that has now become a real issue. I can't go too much into specifics, but even recently, and some of you probably already know if you know your regions are, there has been some activity in that space. Even back end of last week, and it kind of even is continuing now. So shared intelligence, and why is that important? Because if we're seeing all of this attack traffic, if we're monitoring 20% effectively of all the internet traffic going in, we see pretty much everything. So we saw Log4j quite early. I know it kind of caught everybody out, but we saw it, we started working on it. And this is, I don't know about the competition, but this is something I really do like about Cloudflare, is that once we found the solution for the Log4j, it gets pushed out to everybody, whether you're a free single home user, if you're a mom and pop store, sitting in Uganda trying to sell domestic wares, or whether you're a large banking corporation, and you've got billions to lose, that fix is pushed out to everybody, and it's available to everybody. So this is just some industry things that are said about us. I mean, I'm not going to blow my trumpet. So and on the rules, so OWASP is very, very important to most people. Interestingly, it's not just on or off for us. You can turn bits on, bits off on our OWASP rule website, and you can even so if you've got part of the OWASP rule set that you need, but you need to customize it, you can do that. You can turn it off and then recreate it as a custom rule for your specific need, and then you're covered, and then that will stop any false positives or any particular issues that you may or may not face. So yeah, well, I think I've covered most of that. Yeah. So in terms of the usage, this is like a representation of what our customers are actually using. So if I get time, I might put the bring up the dashboard so you can have a look at it. But so what we're seeing from our users on the platform is that 87% of our users are using Cloudflare's, we call special, but our custom rules. So they'll go in there, they'll search for whatever rule they're trying to apply, and then just apply it. Yeah, only 2% create their own custom rules because that's obviously not already been created. So they're very specific use cases. And then we've got 12% of our customers apply the OWASP rule sets. Yeah, that's probably more of a customer segmentation. It's probably more the financial services and highly regulated areas. So another thing that we're, this is new, by the way. So another thing that we're pushing out, or this is in early beta, is API shields. So as I'm sure all of you are using APIs in some degree or another, and API vulnerability is becoming more and more of a thing. So we're now pushing out an API shield. This is a very nuanced subject, so I'm not going to pretend to understand all of it, but suffice to say, this is there's a lot of interest in and around this. And also maybe worth noting as well is that Cloudflare is API native. So if you don't like our dashboard, you can API and create interfaces into any seam or any dashboard of your choice. This is so I'm just conscious I've got 5 minutes, so I'm going to kind of quickly go through this because we touched on it. So Zero Trust is becoming important because of increased regulation. I think we touched upon that earlier. We're seeing that in East and West and South Africa. A lot of workforce is becoming mobile. I know certainly I'm mobile most of the time. If I'm not on my phone, I'm in a cafe or I'm working somewhere else. And also the distribution of your network is getting wider and wider because, as I say, people can move around now in COVID times. People might have, been living in Lusaka, but might have been from Harare and gone home to work, and Zero Trust would solve that. So traditionally, this is how it works. You have a remote user to a VPN client. It has to go to a VPN appliance that then hits the resource. But when you hit that resource, once you've authenticated, you can now see east, west, north, south within that network. You can ping SSH. I know you can put firewall rules around it, but in most cases, most people can. And then, the attackers really just have to hit the VPN appliance. And once they're in that, they're in. The difference, and I'll be very quick on this, I'm short and I'm conscious of time. The difference with Cloudflare Zero Trust is it's identity-based. So we are looking at each individual user or groups of users and say, right, what do you have access to? So if the IT policy is that accounts team can only hit SAP and Oracle, when they log into the network, they can only see SAP and Oracle. No other applications or services are visible to them, or can they even create a login? Yeah. And every action they do is logged. So if they come in, they hit here and they hit SAP or Oracle, and that's fine. But if they then try and hit Salesforce or another application, that's logged and saying, hey, this user's trying to access things that they're not supposed to. So that gives you a granularity of logs around behavior of people within your network. I'm really conscious I've run out of time now. So
Hakan, you can still take another, maybe, well, from the top of the hour, another 5 minutes. We started a bit late, so.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. So this is where, as I say, from the team's perspective, and I know we're talking about generally WAF, but this is quite important. And I hate this VPN replacement, but it's an evolution, should we call it? As somebody actually once said, when VPNs came out, I think VHS was a thing, right? And who watches VHSs now? Nobody, right? So I think zero trust is security of our time, not from a bygone time. So as I mentioned previously, a user comes in, we authenticate them against what they're allowed to do. We can then force them to a browser isolation if it's a particularly sensitive location where we don't want any key logging, phishing, or anything else. And then they can then access the whatever application or hosted app or SaaS app that they want to get to. And we also provide a internet gateway, so we can sit there and we can say, well, we'll block you from accessing specific applications or specifically types of applications or specific networks. So so a user can be blocked for adult content, social, political. I mean, the list is massive. So you can actually steer what, so if you've got sensitivities in a specific area, you can actually just block those straight out. So, it reduces your threat landscape. And the real benefits of this, by the way, is you get granularity of what's happening in your network, who's doing what, right? You get the excellent option of reducing your costs, because if I have a user in finance and they're in the finance group like everybody else, and that person decides to leave the organization, or something unfortunate happens, or they get moved into a different department, yeah, all you do is from your identities level, you just move them from a different group, and then they'll have different access to different applications. So you don't have to then go in each application, add their username, and so on and so forth. So you're just literally just moving that person into a group, and then that person will have the right to hit the applications that group is allowed to do. And a user can be, obviously in multiple groups. So if he's in finance, but he needs access to another thing, you can put exceptions in. So it's not rigid. This is the difference, like with VPNs. You've got to come in, you identify on a password, the password goes in, then you've got to go through authentication. Once you go through authentication, then you've got to set everybody up on each individual app. This reduces all of that. So onboarding and offboarding is greatly reduced. Okay, which one was this? Oh, so yeah, this is the large CRM that I was talking about. Yeah, and we use say single sign-on is possible. Multi-factor authentication. We can do things like device posturing. If your device isn't iOS 15 and above, you can't log in, so on and so forth, or your laptop or your PC.